Trend Chat. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us, whether we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's all the same name, Trend Chat 24/7. And I write for Politichicks.com. If you want to read some of my articles, just go to Politichicks.com/author/Brian Bledsoe. I definitely want to bring that up today because I was very much surprised this morning to see a post from Anne-Marie Morrell, and she posted an article on Politichicks called, a who's who, and it was just a list of current and former contributors of Politichicks, and just talking about where they're at now, and as far as some are maybe going on to do other things for other publications, or maybe even running for office, or a variety of things. And it was, like I said, to my surprise, to see my name in that article, to be amongst the other contributors. And as I posted on social media all day and today, that I am thankful, grateful for Politichicks, and especially Anne-Marie, for her encouragement. And I mean, truth be told, if without her encouragement and her advice and what she's has done for me, you definitely wouldn't be hearing me right now. Definitely, because that's 100% true. You would not be hearing me. So it was just amazing to see, and I'm definitely humbled by that. And like I said, that was a very pleasant surprise to wake up to see. And like I said, as far as writing the articles and being in the book of all things, and all this, in the past 2 years, and here we are now. This is episode 98, and we're coming up on the 100th episode of Trend Chat, something I never would have thought about doing. And I would say all that started back with Anne-Marie and her encouragement. So, since we're talking about Politichicks, let's just let's hear a little more about the new book from Politichicks. Hello, this is Brian Bledsoe, host of Trend Chat, also contributor at Politichicks.com. Here to tell you about the new book called Politichicks, A Clarion Call to Political Activism, with over 300 pages from contributors like myself, talking about topics such as education, social issues, healthcare, the Second Amendment, and of course, activism. I encourage you all to check it out at Politichicks.com, and is also available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Man, that guy sounds good. But yeah, so just thanks to Anne-Marie for including me in the list, and look forward to continuing to contribute it, in a way that I can. So now, first thing I want to mention, I guess you probably noticed that there wasn't an intro, an intro in the sense of me coming on before the music starts and saying what's coming up. So let me tell you what's coming up. We're going to talk with the director of NRA National School Shield, Sheila Brantley. We're going to have an interview with her, and actually, I guess it's going to kind of feel like a part 5 of the NRA annual meetings, but because this was part of she was part of a panel that was going on at the NRA annual meetings in Dallas recently, and unfortunately I wasn't able to be there. So I got her card, and I was saying that hopefully I'll get a chance to talk with her later, because I really was interested in talking about this program and wanted to know more, especially what's been going on recently, and especially with the focus really being on schools, especially with the people would march for our lives and all in the walkouts and all that. And so there's been a lot of emphasis on schools. And so when I saw this program, honestly, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know it even existed. Then turn to find out throughout the interview, which you will hear, that it's been around for a couple of years. So like I said, we'll talk with Sheila later on, but just want to mention a couple of things. Obviously, since the last time we've been on, the U.S. Embassy has moved. Well, it opened in Jerusalem, and that is something that has been talked about for over 20 years, at least. And it finally happened to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. And like I said, we've had presidents, Democrat, Republican alike, has said that we're going to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. Clinton said it. Bush said it. Obama said it. Neither one of them did it. So here we are with President Trump. He said it. It actually happened. So, in the sense of having, previous presidents, I would say basically giving lip service during the campaigns, I guess, during their campaign, they were just saying that. I mean, I guess I'm not going to say that they didn't mean it, but when it came time to actually do it, I guess their heart really wasn't in it and didn't really want to deal with the diplomatic, stress or that might come with moving the embassy. What you trying to do, Brian? But yeah, so with President Trump, he did it. So now, his move is there. So when on the day of, of the grand opening, let's put it that way, you had a lot of Palestinians over trying to get in, and you had, this huge, I guess you could say a riot basically going on the border of Gaza. And so if you had the mainstream media tell it, basically they made it seem like Israel were going out there and just slaughtering people for no reason, slaughtering people just because they're protesters. Yet they tend to totally leave out the part about the Molotov cocktails and basically using human shields and all the other things. Basically, what they just caused a scene, and the media just do what the media does. They grabbed that, they used it against Israel, and also, let's not forget, they definitely want to make anything that has any connection to President Trump. They definitely want to use that to make the president look bad in any way possible. So, I mean, can you imagine if Obama actually moved the embassy during his 8 years? If he would have moved it, and the same thing would have happened, they probably wouldn't even heard about it. For one, he wouldn't have moved it. I didn't think he would want to move it anyway. But let's say, for instance, if I don't know, blind squirrel finds a nut. What is it? The clock. What is a dead clock? Is right twice a day or something. But let's say if that did happen and he did actually move the U.S. Embassy, and this same incident happened, I could see this being reported a whole lot differently, to the point to where it probably wouldn't have been reported because it would have made President Obama look bad. But anyway, whatever. It is what it is. So yeah, so that's all I wanted to mention that. And the thing to me is just the fact of having all these different presidents. Like I said, it was Republican, Democrat alike. Like I said, you had Bill Clinton said he was going to do it. George Bush said he was going to do it. All of them had, and we're talking about 8 years for all of them. Yeah. Had to think about it for a second. Yeah, 8 years for all of them. And yeah, nothing. And, but it finally happened, and I think it's a good thing. It is something. It's a bit of a bucket list for me to go to Israel one time at least. I do want to go. I really want to go once, at least once, and because I don't know if I mentioned this too much, but I'm not a big international traveler. Wanting to go international. Put it that way. I mean, I've been to South Korea when I was in the Army, but I'm not one of those people like, I want to travel the world. Well, I want to go to Spain. I want to go to Italy or whatever. No, I really have no aspirations to go anywhere outside of the United States. I really don't. The only one, well, there's only two places. Like I said, I do want to go to Israel once. I just want to go there to say I went, and just to be there in person. And that's one place. Also, if let's say for instance this podcast blows up to the point where I'm at least I think it was 1 millionaire, 1,000-aire, let's put it that way, enough to where I could afford a nice trip, and don't have to worry about scrounging for change. But and I guess then I might want to go to Tokyo. That is one other place I would like to go. I didn't get a chance to go when I was in South Korea, mainly because I didn't feel like it. But it wasn't expensive. I could have went then, but I don't know. I don't know. So that's one place. I would say Tokyo, Israel. Those two places I want to go. Outside of that, I'm fine. I'm fine here. So, but yeah. So I don't even know why I even got on this, but anyway. Well, talking about going to Israel, but talking about the embassy and everything. But yeah. So that's It's been, that was I guess you could say a pretty, well, it was something I didn't think about that was actually going to happen. I mean, I heard it during the campaign, but like I said, we've heard it plenty of times from both parties. So, but it's hearing that the scene that it actually happened, that is, in this case, it is like going toward that slogan that I hear, that you hear so much, especially when you're at a rally for the president. Promises made, promises kept. This is one promise that was made. That was one promise that was kept. So, yeah. So, also, well, we also had another thing that happened with President Trump as far as the media as well, and we'll get to that. But first, let's hear a word from our friends with the Founding Project.
Hello, Trend Chat listeners. If you like the Founding Project's Civics Education video series, Civics for All Ages, and our educational meme series, we think you will love our new website. Join us at thefoundingproject.com and be a part of the civics movement. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Please join us today.
This is Dana Lash, and you're listening to Trend Chat.
Yep, and well, another little story. I'm not even going to really get into this too long because it really is nonsense. Honestly, I might spend a minute. I'm actually going to look at the clock. Let's see how long it lasts. It's not going to be. It's going to be longer than a minute. But so President Trump was talking about MS-13, the ruthless gang that basically come over here and violent. Look, I'm trying to keep from using the other words because that's kind of the whole gist of this story. But President Trump called them animals in describing these gang members. Now, kind of going back while I was talking about, Israel as far as what was going on the border with those, with the riots and basically. And you had the media tell it, they just took what he said about, them being animals. They took that part and then put that on to basically mean he was talking about immigrants in general. Because some were saying illegal immigrants, some were saying, undocumented, whatever, whatever their words are. But they were just, at one point, they were just saying he was talking about immigrants in general. They just take it all the way there, because that's one of the stories as well. But yet he was talking about, if you hear the context, and it's not much to get the full context, because the context of it is hearing the question he was asked. That was it. It ain't like you had to listen to 10, 20 minutes to understand the context. The context was the question, but they didn't play the question. They just played his answer. So, and if they did, if they mentioned the question, they didn't mention what the question was about. Anyway, been over a minute. But from that question, he said that, in describing MS-13, that they were animals. And so that was used to make it seem like he was talking about immigrants in general, which is the prime example of what he calls fake news. That right there was fake news. And so, yeah. And that's just another example of it. And I'm done. I am done. I'm not going to go more on that, because that's all. Don't really need to get that much into it. Just understand that part. So now we have a decision that came down from the Supreme Court. Now, before we get into that, I was thinking about what it's talking about what's been going on. I'm trying to just think about what other things as well. Now, I don't know how much y'all care. NBA finals. No, not the finals, but the conference finals are going on. So right now it's the Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics, and then you have Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. Now, I haven't been watching much at all, barely any at all. I haven't watched a full game all season. So take this. It will take this with as much as you take everything else you hear. So, I think the finals are going to be, off the top of my head, I'm thinking it's going to be Boston and Golden State. And I think that Boston will be more difficult than people realize, mainly because they have good, they're a really good defensive team, and we all know defense wins championships. That old line. But so that's what I think. We'll see. I'm probably not even gonna bring this up again. Who knows? But the reason I brought this up is because it kind of takes me into what happened as far as the Supreme Court. Now, unless you already know what I'm about to say, unless you already heard about this, like, what are sports in the Supreme Court, what they got to do with each other? Well, this week, the Supreme Court, with the 6-3 decision, has basically they did away with a law that was that basically prohibited sports gambling. And so they declared that to be unconstitutional. So now that opened up for the states to whether to allow or not allow sports gambling. So it's not like from this decision they said we legalize sports gambling. No, that's not what it did. I know maybe some think of it that way. What they did is that they made it a state's issue. And as someone who is for limited government as well, I know a lot of people who are listening right now, we're, limited government conservatives. And, in that sense, this is great. Take as many of these issues to the states as possible. And this is one of them. So now this comes down to, each state basically coming up with whatever plans they want to come up with as far as what they, how they want to address this, if they want gambling or not. And the thing about this whole deal is that, and I'm thinking about how these leagues, so, like I was just talking about the NBA. So now, all these sports leagues, NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, and so on, so on. So now, what they, at the moment, what they have to do is go to each state and, first they gotta get gambling to go through and to be approved, to be allowed in that state. For one, first they got to do that. Then after that, then whatever negotiation they want to go through as far as, if they want a piece of the revenue or whatever. But I know that's some of the things that's been talked about since this has happened in the past couple of days. And, like I said, the fact that this is a state's issue, great. Now, first off, let me say before I get too further into this, personally, I'm not a gambler, and I don't think gambling is a great thing, really. As a Christian, I don't think it's a good way of, a good way to spend money, or just, to be a good steward of your money. But, I'm saying that right now. But as far as just the inevitability of it, that it's going to be, at least in some of these states, I'm pretty sure there are going to be some states that will not allow it. Now, the thing I'm thinking about when I was saying about these leagues going to all these states and trying to, get their cut or whatever, I don't think that actually is going to happen. Well, I think it's going to happen in the sense of where you're going to have to first get the states that they want to allow gambling. The thing about it is, I think the focus of these leagues are going to point towards Congress. Because, just think about it. Instead of having to go to each individual state, right? You have to go to each state and make your case 50 times, basically. And so I can imagine them just, now this is I would think to be the right way of doing it. Where they would do it this way, where they would go to each state and even, you have 50 different ways of doing it. Some that allow it, some that don't. And then the ones that do allow it, you have different plans and different laws. And through all that, you'll figure out how to do it the most effectively, I guess. So that would be the right way of doing it, in the sense of we're talking about, whether we're talking about gambling or anything. But I don't think that's going to happen. Actually, honestly, I don't think all of what I'm talking about, none of this is going to happen. What I think is going to happen is this. I think that the leagues are going to basically do what a lot of other corporations do. They're going to basically hire a lobbying firm, right? And then they're going to lobby Congress to make some sort of federal regulation. I think that's what I think is going to happen. I think they are probably going to say, you know what, forget trying to go to all these different states and try to convince them of this and that. They're just going to hire one big lobbying firm and take it straight to Congress and, tell those congressmen and, hey, how about you make a federal regulation? And they'll just, hand them some money or whatever like that. And I'm pretty sure there are going to be plenty of them up there that's going to take it. This is where it's up to the congressman to say no if they are for limited government and, are for, having more state control, more local control. But unfortunately, I've mentioned that already, that plenty of times on this podcast, there are a lot more people who want to spend money, who want that control. There are a lot more of them than, your limited government conservatives up there. So that's what I think is what's going to happen. These leagues are going to get some big lobbyists up there, and they're going to, push for some federal regulation. And who knows, it's probably the next 5-10 years, might be sooner than that. There'll just be one big government federal regulation over sports gambling. So this whole thing about this being a big states issue, it's going to be to a degree, but there's going to be some federal regulation. Let's put it that way. So now, another thing about this as well is that one reason that, when it comes to sports, that people are, you have people that are so obsessed over their teams and over sports in general. One reason behind that is because of gambling, because they put money on it. So they're literally invested in their team winning. So, and when they lose, not only did they just lose, they also lost money. And so that's one reason towards the obsession of sports, and whether we're talking about pro or college. And now that you're going to have, because you're going to have some of these states is going to be legal. I mean, like I said, I don't see it being legal in all 50 states. I don't see all 50 states, making this legal. But we're probably going to at least get a little bit, maybe a third, maybe half in the next couple of years that's going to have it legal. And once it becomes legal, I mean, you think people are fanatical now when it was, under the table? It's going to really get fanatical given the fact that people, now that it's legal, now people are really going to be jumping on this whole, getting obsessed over their team and whatnot, because now it's legal. So you're going to have some of the people that maybe that were deterred from even thinking about doing this because they were trying to follow, be law-abiding citizens and not gamble because it was against the law. Now they feel like, all right, well, it's legal, so hey, let's do it. And like I said, it's just gonna make sports just more fanatical than it is, and I'm pretty sure the leagues are, happy about that. So, yeah. So it's enough about that. That was just something I definitely had on my mind. So let's get to our interview with Sheila Brantley. And like I said, we talked about NRA School Shield. And as soon as you hear another word from our friends with the Founding Project, we'll hear from Sheila.
Hello, Trend Chat fans. The Founding Project invites you to experience our latest resource to take civics to citizens, TFP's new website. Visit us at www.thefoundingproject.com. Be a part of the civics movement with the Founding Project. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Join us today.
Hey everyone, this is Amy Robbins with Alexo Athletica, and you're listening to Trend Chat.
Hello, this is Trend Chat, and I was at the NRA annual meetings recently, and I came across something on the program that unfortunately I was not able to attend, but I definitely wanted to talk to someone about and wanted to hear more, about the program. And it was a NRA School Shield. And we have Sheila Brantley. She is the director of NRA School Shield. And I definitely wanted to talk with you about this program and wanted to get more information. So how are you doing?
Hi, Brian. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to talk about our program today.
Now, well, first thing I wanted to mention is, so unfortunately I was not able to attend the panels. So I guess the first thing, kind of tell us tell us about the program and what y'all talked about in those panels.
So School Shield is a relatively new program of the NRA, and it's all about looking at how to make our schools more secure. Our mission is to simply protect our children. It was developed in December of 2012 after the tragedy at Sandy Hook, I think, where the entire nation took a step back and said, this is an issue that we all want to help prevent. It's a tragedy that no community should have to go through. And with the NRA's membership of millions of men and women who are mothers and fathers and grandparents and aunts and uncles, and in some cases brothers and sisters, each and every one of us said, what more can we do to help protect our schools? And School Shield was our answer to that question. So at the recent annual meeting in Dallas, Texas, we actually had the opportunity to have 3 panels, one each day of the meeting, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where we talked to attendees about school security, what things we're seeing in communities across the country, common vulnerabilities, if you will, and then questions and activities that folks can take part in to help make their schools more secure.
Okay. Now, if a school wants to have this program, I mean, is this something where they have to reach out to you, and how does everything work?
That's a great question. So one of the cornerstones of our program is our security assessor training. And when the program was first founded, we actually had a task force, an independent task force of different security experts who went out, and I like to say they took a temperature of what was going on in our schools at that time. And the way that they did that was through a vulnerability assessment. What we found is that many communities and many schools in those communities are not aware of a vulnerability assessment. So in most cases, they have not had one done. And really what that vulnerability assessment does is it tells folks where they have potential gaps in their security plan. And we're looking at multiple facets. We're looking at technology and infrastructure, but also the policies, plans, and procedures that are in place should an emergency occur, to make sure that that school is well prepared or as prepared as possible to get through whatever that emergency event might be.
Okay, and now after the assessment, now if they want to go further, is there another step?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when you go through a vulnerability assessment, and these are typically conducted by your local law enforcement officers, sometimes it would be district security personnel, but usually it's someone in the official capacity for the direct responsibility of the safety and security of that school, but then they have a list of items that they need to address, and many times there is a funding challenge there as well. So we actually have a grant program that's part of School Shield. It's developed through the NRA Foundation. And with that, when you have these vulnerability assessments, that basically becomes your needs assessment for the grant request. And then we are able to offer grant funding for those that are selected to make those very vital security improvements.
Okay, and so when the school gets the grant, will it normally cover everything that was in the assessment, or just like a selected number of things?
It really depends. So all requests are different. They definitely vary in size and scope and obviously the cost. So all of them are evaluated on their own merit. And then, of course, it's selected by the committee and based on the available funding as well. So it's hard to say who all will be selected, but we definitely encourage those when the grant application is open to apply for that funding, because we know that is definitely a challenge out there, and it's one of the components of our program that we hope use to help make those schools more secure.
Okay, and as far as the grants, I guess the cost of it and what y'all give is I guess it varies from whatever that they're looking for.
Absolutely. It does. It's very difficult. With some schools, they have invested quite a bit in their technology or perhaps their infrastructure. If they're a newer school, sometimes a lot of these life safety and security features were included in the newer construction. But for other schools, they may be looking at training or improving some of their policies and procedures, which many times is low or no cost. So really, these vulnerability assessments are a great way to really assess where schools are at, what best practices they have in place so that they can continue to make those improvements. And then obviously the enhancements through any of the potential vulnerabilities that they've identified, they can mitigate those as well.
Okay. How many schools are covered, or has done the assessment and gotten the grants? I don't know if y'all can release those numbers, but I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, so it's, for the schools that have participated in our program, and a lot of folks do ask that question. So with our training, we've done, I believe it's just under 20 trainings over the past couple of years. We've hosted the trainings from Alaska to Virginia and many states in between. And then in 2017, we were actually able to document almost 150 completed assessments as a direct result of our training. So those are officers that we have trained, law enforcement officers across the country, reporting back and telling us that they were able to collectively assist 150 schools across the country. So with those schools and many others, we actually just in the spring of 2018 opened up our first national grant application, and we're in the process of reviewing those applications as we speak, and then eventually you'll see a news release announcing the funding that we released out, and with kind of more generic information of where the funding was awarded, perhaps at the state level, and then what types of projects were funded as well.
Okay. So if a school receives a grant, they get like equipment, or is it particular, like I guess training in weapons and as far as anything like that, or is it like I guess you get like police officers or someone to security guard? Is those some of the things that go into the grant, or am I off?
Yeah, no, so our grant program for this most recent grant cycle, what we encourage folks to focus on would be projects and or activities that facilitate the inclusion or enhancement of industry best practices in school security infrastructure, technology, personnel training, and or policy. So examples of previous awards that we had given out included things like perimeter fencing updates and repairs, secured visitor entry systems, so sometimes door buzzers with security cameras and intercoms to be able to control the folks coming and going from that main entrance. Also DVR and camera systems, window safety security film, sometimes ballistic shielding to kind of harden that entrance a little bit more and add to that element of delay. We did have some folks that were looking for the installation of panic buttons or immediate response systems. There were some training opportunities that were funded as well in the past, and things like even classroom emergency kits. So what we're looking for in the request now, what we're seeing in the review period is a lot of requests for access control, again, visitor management systems, and training. So really, the school identifies what their priority projects are, and it's really not up for us to say whether or not a specific component or product or service is appropriate. The school is expected to have already vetted that. But what we're trying to do is answer that need through the funding that they may not have otherwise had access to.
All right. Now, given with everything that's been going on, at least in the past year,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I wanted to ask is, has the reception, been, I don't know. Let me ask you, how has the reception been when you go to some of these schools? I'm pretty sure as soon as they hear NRA, they tend to have a different view as far as what, of why you're at this school or even doing anything, because, NRA tends to be viewed as the bad guy when it comes to these
Right.
things.
It is. A lot of folks who don't understand the program, I think, definitely wonder if there's been any challenges to the program simply because it is made possible through the National Rifle Association. But I can tell you that my personal experience and those that are on staff, we've worked in so many different communities of folks who are very grateful for this resource. I think that when it comes to looking at how to protect our children and how to make our schools more secure, it's something that we can not look at in terms of a political window, but actually saying this is something we all can agree on. It doesn't matter if you're on the left side, the right side, whatever your beliefs are, political or otherwise, this is something we can all agree on. And so most communities that we've worked in have not had any issue whatsoever, particularly because this is training. A lot of folks don't realize that the NRA was founded in 1871 on the basis of education, training, and safety. And so this program fits quite perfectly with that mission, that original mission. And when we tell folks this training particularly is actually helping to facilitate the vital partnership between local law enforcement agencies and the schools themselves, which is also something that the NRA has been steadfastly committed to, which is public safety. I think that it's yet another area that highlights the importance of coming together in a shared commitment to making these schools more secure.
Yeah, I agree that this shouldn't be a partisan issue. It shouldn't be, but there are plenty of people out there that want to make it as such. So, Sheila, I'm grateful that you're able to come on, and if anyone wants to know more about the NRA School Shield and want to get in contact, whether on on the internet, social media, how can they do that?
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. So if you want more information about our resources, about our training, about our grant funding, please do visit us on the website at www.nraschoolshield.org.
Okay, and anything on social media?
So all of the social media is on the NRA's Facebook page. So if you go onto the NRA's Facebook page, you can find information about not just School Shield, but all of our education and training programs.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yep. And thanks to Sheila for joining us. And that is it for this episode of Trend Chat. And it'll be episode 99. One more it'll be one more until 100. And we have a number of guests lined up for the 100th episode, and really looking forward to that. So, like I said, we'll have 99 will be next week. So, I guess in 2 weeks from now, we'll have episode 100. And appreciate everyone listening. Like I said, if you like it, share it, subscribe, all of that. iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, all that. So, thanks to everyone for listening. And, as always, until next time, we'll chat with you later.